Welcome back to the Quiet on Set podcast powered by Cineman. I'm Ewan Graff, and as always, I'm joined by Lachlan Teely.
On today's episode, we are discussing the recently announced Cannes Film Festival lineup. There is a lot of films that are going to be premiering there. Big ones, small ones. We'll go through a number of them. On top of that as well, Ewan and I will be discussing the recently new announced streaming service, Max.
It's not new. It's just a forgotten love child of Discovery Plus and HBO Max.
Oh, is it? Is it actually?
Yeah.
It's not new.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
No,
well,
nothing's new in this world.
The new streaming service Max, which is actually just Warner Brothers and HBO together, and the new Harry Potter adaptation that will be coming on that service.
Lots of terrible decisions over here. We'll get into that. I watched Nicolas Cage as Dracula in Renfield, Toni Collette as a Mafia Mamma. Then I also caught Ben Affleck and Matt Damon who make a shoe ad for Nike. And Lachlan started Succession.
I did start Succession, and
Yes.
I caught up with the latest season of Ted Lasso. With that as well, Ewan, I have to ask you a question.
Yes.
How do you blow up a pipeline?
I don't want to end up on any watch list, so I'm not continuing wherever this bit is going. So we are talking about how to blow up a pipeline. The movie, the series, the musical on Disney Plus, on whatever streaming service. We'll get into that later in the show.
The musical. Alexander Hamilton.
Boom!
Boom.
We are
Obviously,
professionals.
This is a professional podcast.
Yes. Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. Hello there. Which actually,
Did you
this
get
is
me
gonna
a
be
hat as
bit,
well?
Yes.
So I've got Dooncam. It's just a camera with my Dune steelbook.
All right, Lachlan, lots to talk about this week. Welcome back. We got some
thanks,
big
man.
news, some exciting news for us.
Crazy news.
Yes, especially because we are really fond of Max. No, we want to have a closer look at the lineup in Cannes. I think about 45 to like 50 something in that range of films were already announced. We'll get into that in a second, but before that, there were a couple of trailers that premiered. First up, for that Max announcement, they did drop the first in-production trailer for The Penguin. I like that they keep with the style of the Batman. Lachlan, what did you make of that? Feel like it looks pretty good, right? They got Colin Farrell, Oscar-nominated Colin Farrell in the series.
I had no idea you were segueing to me because I am yet to see the teaser trailer. I am totally not
Penguin.
doing it right now. Penguin.
A big win for the actual Penguins because these Penguins didn't make the
Penguins.
playoffs. They
So,
did terribly.
A minute 28.
Yes.
A live reaction of 128 minutes of the Penguin in production
Yes.
now. Excellent. Very similar style. I agree with what you said.
Yes.
There he is. Colin Farrell looks spectacular, right? Man, you
Mhm.
can't even see the man in that makeup. It's incredible. Is Matt Reeves making this?
I think it does mention him there. I don't know if he's directing it or just producing.
Can we
but
get
I
a
think
fact
he's-
check on this? What is Matt Reeves doing in this show? So I'm not sure how I feel about spin-offs yet in TV from cinema and vice versa, like movie spin-offs of TV series and TV spin-offs of movie series. I think I like it because different formats are great for different things, but at the same
Yeah.
time, I mean, oh god, he just laughed. Oh, that was good.
That's great. It's not directed by Matt Reeves. He's just he's a Matt, South African
Matt.
version of him. Comes from the director of The Hunt and Mayor of Easttown. That was a miniseries that was quite well done. I actually
like
quite
that,
enjoyed.
yeah.
He directed a singular episode of American Gods. He also did an
okay.
episode of Westworld, but like just one episode's there. But I think he's doing most of the episodes for The Penguin. It's going to be an
All right.
8-episode series. It follows the transformation of Oswald Cobblepot from a disfigured nobody to a noted Gotham gangster. I'm in for that if it keeps up the quality of the Batman, and I think this is still gonna take a bit of time, but it will be here sooner than some of the other things that are in production. I think the next Batman Part 2 from Matt Reeves is set to come out in like 2025. The Penguin will be like a year before, I assume. Lachlan, I don't know if you're familiar with the Rocka YouTube channel, two Aussie twin boys
Little
that
bit.
get up to
Yeah, I know
some hijinks.
Crazy shit.
I can't really watch their stuff because it gives me like secondhand anxiety because they have so much energy. It's a bit too much for me at times. But they did a A24 produced horror film, Talk to Me, that premiered at Sundance and actually got some pretty great reviews so far. Really anticipating this. It doesn't give me like a particularly different vibe so far from the trailer alone. Lachlan, what did you make of it?
Look, horror is overdone quite a bit. That's unfortunate that there's just so many horror movies out there that they are starting to feel a little bit stale, and it is going to take a lot to get something new in this sort of overdone world. But just like any upcoming director, horror or directors, horror is a great stepping stone because it's cheap and easy to produce, and it can really show off some interesting stylistic and directorial choices to help you stand out in the crowd. So I know it does look pretty generic. I'm hoping that the trailer is just going to look generic so that it draws the main audience in of horror fans. And then you'll get in there and it's this psychological thriller horror movie that you're just like, wow, that's exciting.
Wow. Yeah, it was like, hey, she's got a dead parent, so she's got some trauma that is going to be the through line for the story. But other than that, I think it probably, from the reviews it's gotten so far, I just assume it's similar to those other type of, you awake something that is unleashed and then it kind of just goes off like killing people, like that type of thing. But it just does that like quite well. That's what I just assume it to be. And for that, I'm quite excited for it. You know, some effective but basic horror. Something like X did that, like, in both of our opinions, did that wonderfully for, like, re-encapsulating that, like, 70s horror aesthetic quite well. But yeah, there was also an MCU trailer for the Marvels. Later in the year, in November, we are getting the team up with Brie Larson and then Kamala Khan, and blanking on the other person's name. But there are 3 Captain Marvels, I guess, technically. I caught the series of, well, I guess we both did for WandaVision, where like one of them appeared at first, or like got their powers, and then there was the Miss Marvel show that I thought was probably the best one out of all of the MCU shows so far, maybe other than like Loki. So I'm quite excited to see that character continue. I wasn't the biggest fan of the original Captain Marvel film. I think there were a lot of like sidesteps or missteps that they had. Doesn't seem like they make the character of Brie Larson like too more like change it up. Just how she comes off as like this really arrogant person, which just didn't really work for me as a character. I'm not really rooting for her that much. So hopefully this will be a bit better, but I honestly don't really care, because if we're taking a look at, you know, at the success of what's doing well at the box office, we might see a shift that kind of goes more into video game movies, with like the huge debut of the Super Mario Bros. Film, which got a bunch of record-breaking, I guess, achievements that it got, like being the biggest animated film, this and that, so much stuff, biggest like 5-day opening, Wednesday 5-day opening. But yeah, we'll see where the MCU takes us. Anyways,
yes,
Lachlan, yes, your segue. You can. How do I segue?
This is a great segue. No, I like this.
I'm not leaving this in like this.
We are. The last trailer, I saw you went to go reach for your cup and have, I don't know, whatever it is, vodka, in your drink. What time is it right now? Like 6 a.m.?
It's yeah, sure. It's like 6 hours later, but sure.
Shut up, Siri. Hey Siri, what time is it in Switzerland?
It's 12:08 p.m. in Bern, Switzerland.
You and it just hit 12 o'clock. It's not time to start drinking vodka.
Vodka lemon.
Vodka lemon. I like it. One last trailer I wanted to just quickly announce that came out because I got really hyped from it. Unfortunately, the series died off for me in season 2, and I probably try to start watching it again so I can catch up to what was one of the greatest seasons of television I've ever watched. The 4th season of True Detective got a trailer. True Detective Night County, I think it was, or Country, Night Country. Yes. Yeah. I got really hyped from this because there's a lot of kind of references to the first season, which is spectacular. And I would be really, really hyped to see if they get back into that sort of philosophical, occult, you know, story that they had in the first season, because that season, I mean, it's got to do with one, Matthew McConaughey and Woody Harrelson's performances. They're absolutely brilliant. But you've got fucking Jodie Foster in this one, so Jodie Foster's a acting powerhouse. I'd love to see some good writing in this season. And yeah, I know that there's a bit of mixed love for season 2 and 3, but I will report back to you because, as you might have said in the opening, I've been catching up on television.
Yes.
Quite a bit of television.
Yes.
And
I'm loving it. Yeah.
I think this is a great segue into
HBO Max.
what we've been watching, but HBO Max would be a better idea.
I mean, it segues into that. We've already, I guess, mentioned Penguin and now True Detective. By the way, HBO has just started sending us, or me specifically, but also kind of you adjacent.
Yeah,
to
not
that.
me.
No, you could technically get them as well. I think that would be fine. If we, like the movie we talk about today later on, How to Blow Up the Pipeline, was also sent to us by Neon. So thanks for everyone subscribing, liking, rating our show on Spotify or Apple Plus or whatever. It makes us get these screeners. We just got one from Neon. We are getting ones now. I also already saw a couple of HBO shows that are yet to come out that are still on the embargo. So that's all made possible by the support from you. Just to watch, not even rating, just watching helps us out a lot. So thanks a lot for that. But now I guess I'm not getting HBO screeners anymore. I'm getting Mac screeners, which I don't is probably a pretty bad SEO. If you type that into Google, I think if you type in Max movie, you probably get like some dog movie. Probably, I could just bet there's a movie called Max with a dog in it. So
Maxine.
The porn version of Max is just like you get like HBO, the pristine entertainment with lots of nudity. You get Discovery Plus, the reality TV, where it's usually like, I think, censored. I don't watch reality TV whenever there's nudity. And then you go to Maxine, which is like straight up porn. Then the marriage of both of them, which is the actual love child. This is the actual announcement. There was a merger now that those two streaming services are coming together. They are launching on May 23rd. All of that data imported into this, I guess, combined streaming service that has probably the most prestige and well-made TV that just like is continuously at the top of their game with shows like The Wire, True Detective, like we just mentioned. Then they also got Game of Thrones. They got Succession and Barry. And I guess now they also got 30 Day Fiance and I don't know, Survivor.
Yay!
All of those reality TV things that I'm not too familiar with, to be honest. But what do you think, just before we get into like the programming and some of the stuff that is about to come to Max, what do you make of this? What do you make of this like connection of those two streaming services into one?
I'm very much pro sort of combination of streaming services because there are so many of them these days. It's sort of going back to that, like streaming services were this like angel that came down from the heavens and everyone was like, look at this is perfect, this is what we want a streaming service. This is obviously Netflix, because Netflix kind of shot off and all of these other services
early
came
Netflix
out,
had everything, right?
But like that came down and it had everything we wanted on it, and it was so cheap. And now I've got Netflix, I've got Prime. In Australia, we have Stan, which is, Australian streaming services. What else do I currently pay for? I mean, in terms of like streaming services, I've got Disney as well. So I've got, what did I say? Netflix, Amazon, Stan, Disney.
You watch Ted Lasso, Apple.
Apple TV Plus. I technically pay for YouTube Premium because that's like a very important one to me as well. I fucking hate ads on YouTube. I'm sorry, but yes, I pay for Premium, and it also helps,
the creators,
support creators as well. It's not totally bad. What else do I pay for? Mubi. I use Mubi. There's another one. Like there's so many streaming services now. I'm paying an absolute ton of money each month, and I feel like it's just a lot.
I think that would work if it's like, okay, let's fold like, I don't know, Apple TV Plus and Disney together. And then you get like the marriage of Apple TV Plus's lots of originals and the back library of Disney and the new stuff. But with this merger, there's like really counter programming coming together. And I think like one of the arguments of like not combining this could be that overall you increase, I guess, the baseline of the price to have like two services, even though you're not interested in the other one. I think that doesn't really that's not really a good argument, because ultimately the price will not be probably as much as getting those two individually. It's just having like, I don't know, like Survivor next to Barry. And I think that's like, who cares, to be honest? It's just like having more options doesn't really hurt. I think the biggest example of a service that is lessened by the overall quality of its products is Netflix, with how much it's has come down with, I think it's originals, and not even like what they license. They just license way less, because it's also really messy with which country has what available. I think that's overall not a great thing for streaming, which I guess just promotes the use of VPNs. It's great business for them, but not for like like the consumer that just wants like something simple. So I feel pretty indifferent towards it as well, because neither of us. Do you get HBO in Australia? Because like
No.
we don't get it.
So
Yeah, I
that's
get it.
another one. I was going to say, we don't get HBO. We go
Yeah.
through Binge to get HBO, or Foxtel
Yeah.
Now if you want HBO. So there's like two different services that you can pay for.
It's Sky here in Switzerland, and they usually get like, whenever there's a new Succession episode, it takes them an extra day to put it on there, even though I think there's not even a subtitled version of it. That like is another week off until you get the German subtitles. So
Yeah.
all of that like hinders the process of making it as easy as possible on the consumer to watch your stuff. You just, in the internet age, it needs to be ready and available pretty easily to avoid like pirating and stuff like that. Yeah, just because as soon as it is on a streaming platform, the pirating is happening way faster. And if you make that accessible and easy for people to get it, and pretty affordable as well, people will, I think, always prefer not to pirate, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyways, that's
Funny
yep.
thing
Yes?
about HBO, like especially Succession. I was going to bring this up during
Yeah.
my what I've been watching, because I'm watching Succession finally, because
Yes.
Ewan has told me I should, because apparently there's some really good episodes in the like recent season. So I've only got 4 seasons to catch up on. But in Australia, the show Succession is on Binge.
It's
right?
dubbed in Aussie English.
No, it's not dubbed in Aussie English. But
Oi, cunt.
Succession is like
me the Billy.
loosely based. Oh man. Anyway,
I'm sorry. Yeah, no.
Succession is like loosely based off of Rupert Murdoch, who is right. Rupert Murdoch owns, like, is obviously the like the boss of News Corp. News Corp owns Foxtel, which is one of the streaming services where you can watch Succession, and then News Corp also owns Stream Motion, which is the one that owns Binge. So I'm watching this like TV show loosely based off of Rupert Murdoch whilst giving Rupert Murdoch money.
Yeah.
It's so ironic.
It gets a bit more into what I guess the company of the family is doing in the later seasons. So it will also get even more meta a bit later on.
Right.
I can't wait for you to catch up with it. But we'll get into that a bit more in what we've been watching, because I also have some stuff to say about that. Latest episode 3 for us right now. We record before episode 4 of season 4 is coming out. But let's talk about some of the things announced. I think let's dodge the biggest one, the most controversial one until the end. First up, to rattle off a few of them, True Detective season 4. I'm looking forward to that, like you already mentioned. I only caught the first one. Got to catch up with, I guess you don't need to before this season, of course, because it's an anthology series, so they're not connected. But I still wanna watch season 2 and 3. And there was also a series for the Conjuring universe announced. Expanding that. I think we covered the latest Conjuring film when it came out back in, I think, 2020. I think there's a new one on the horizon this year, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, we also getting that. And then Something quite exciting is, I guess, something that's in the back lore of Game of Thrones is the Dunk and Egg series called Knights of the Seven Kingdoms. The Hedge Knight is just ordered on HBO. It takes place before the events of Game of Thrones, about a century before. About two unlikely heroes wandering Westeros. A young, naive, but courageous knight, Sir Duncan the Tall, and his diminutive, that's a fancy word, Squire Egg. But yeah, set in the age of still Targaryen reign. I'm down for this because for me, House of the Dragon really delivered. Lachlan, I think you enjoyed it quite a bit as well. And with it being an HBO, I guess a Max production, I think this is gonna be pretty solid if they do it right. Right? Are you excited for this?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I said this earlier. It's like I'm really excited to see these sort of spin-offs. I'd like to see some Game of Thrones TV, like movies instead of TV shows. I feel like there's definitely some sort of stories that probably would benefit from just a 2.5 hour, 3 hour epic instead of a 6-7 episode mini series. And I don't know if this is going to get like a number of seasons, but how much could a story be milked, right? That seems pretty basic just between, as you said, courageous knight and his squire. There's unless there's some sort of big epic fight and battle, that can be told in a movie. Lord of the Rings has shown us that you can definitely do that.
It depends on how you want your egg to be served. Do you want the runny egg? Do you want it firm? That type of thing.
But I mean, we're at a point where like TV shows cost just as much, if not more, than what movies do. And
dude, that is the perfect segue, by the way. But no, continue.
I'm so good at segues. I'm good at segueing. Go ahead.
I'm just gonna segue right into you. Because reportedly the series remake of Harry Potter, told in 7 seasons, is around the same budget that the House of the Dragon was, which I think cost HBO around 200 million in total, around 100 million for the production, and they spent a lot of money in promotion as well. So we can expect 100 million per season, which I think for big like blockbuster series is at this point the standard. Regardless, it's also a bit of a question. Exactly. For what do we need a remake of a series that ended 12 years ago? I think in 2011 or 2012 with the 8th movie in a 7-part novel series. This is supposedly starting set to air in either 2025 or 26, so it's a few years off. They haven't even casted it yet, but ultimately, just simply enough, are you gonna watch the series, or what's your level of interest for a remake of Harry Potter?
Interest in the remake is probably at zero. Like, I have no reason to watch it. After all, I have always said that I don't like Harry Potter as a character. I find him quite dull as a boy who just gets things given to him so he can get to point A to B. He doesn't really get like he doesn't get an arc. Even in the films, like he doesn't really get like a great arc as a hero. He's just sort of fucking there. Right?
He's thrust into it, and it's like, you're the man, and it's like, he's the man, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
He doesn't really do that much. That is
so true. If they are able to change that, because obviously it's an adaptation of the books, unless they're going to do like a straight copy.
I mean, instead of 2 hours or 2.5 hours per movie, you get around 8 to 9, depending on how long a series goes. So you obviously get to delve a bit deeper. I think there was like in the later films, there was a bit of an upset that some stuff got cut out. Like, I think Hermione, there was a side plot with Hermione and I think the elves or something like that that got cut out. So obviously they would focus on this a bit more. There's the opportunity. The biggest like elephant in the room is the Mrs. Transphobia impersonation of just J.K. Rowling really profiting off of, I guess, the direct readaptation of her work, where I think what I'm kind of getting through your for your lack of, I guess, love for Harry Potter as a character is that the surrounding world, the potential of the wizarding world is definitely there. It's just not with his
Yeah.
character. It's like the same with Hogwarts Legacy. There was also the potential. Didn't really live up to that with like the story overall, but the world still is really exciting and fun to explore. But they never really do that in a fun way if they just do another remake. So I would have
Yeah.
much rather seen a different time period. You could do even
100%.
just a prequel. Just a prequel would be better.
Fantastic Beasts had such a
It had a
missed
potential,
opportunity. It had such
And
a
then it
massive
just-
potential as it just fucking.
It had the Star Wars curse or the Star Wars
Ugh.
fucking infection of I guess the Skywalker thing of needing to connect the overall story, having Dumbledore in there and having it all connect. And I think from the quote that the Warner Bros. Exec gave, or the HBO exec gave, was that they are free to move because they were asked like if they would do more series in the future in like the Harry Potter universe, and they were like, yeah, they like this is directly tied to JK, but if they were to do other stuff, I think they're pretty free to move. It didn't say like how much royalties or whatever she would get, but in this she has a lot of say of how it gets adapted still. Just because like it is still based on her material, and there's like a lot of rights that just give her this the ability to be just also like hands on with the creative stuff, which I'm not too excited about because she's just been really annoying, and I think she's just overall making the excitement and the enjoyment of the series that I like really think is fun, making it a bit more difficult for people to explore this really interesting world, which makes me just want to see like someone else do something similar to this, but just I guess not tied to Harry Potter, because I think like wizard stuff and wands and whatever, it could be really fun. But yeah. I think that wraps it up for the maximum amount of news that you can get on the Max streaming service. Let us know if you'll be switching and watching some Discovery Plus shows now that you got the availability. Now going completely into a different direction from reality TV and Harry Potter to Gun. The Gun Film Festival just recently announced
he's wearing the
its
hat.
lineup.
I like
Yes,
it.
I am. That was intentional that I'm wearing the hat today
Thought
as we
so.
talk about the
Thought so.
lineup. Also, I can't wear this again. To mention it again, I can't wear this hat anymore because they did lose out of the playoffs. They didn't even get to the playoffs, so that's really sad. It's commemorated. It's dead. It's over here on the table. But yeah, there were 48 films announced of the official Gun lineup. I think they mentioned that some more movies are getting potentially added. I think that's mainly though the outside of the Gun things that happen simultaneously around the festival that we also get to cover. The Critics Week and the Directors Week had, for example, last year's other side. After Sun premiered in the Critics Week, and there was some other A24 films that played there, like Men and God's Creatures. So we'll have a close look at that. Those movies are not announced yet, but there were some pretty big hitters. Some films that they announced even before this lineup announcement, like Killers of the Flower Moon, Martin Scorsese's epic, really, really long film that we get to catch there. We already knew about that one. I think potentially the biggest one that you're really excited for is playing in competition. It's the new Wes Anderson film, Asteroid City. Yes, really excited about that one. There's a few films playing outside of competition. The opening film from French director and actress Maïwenn, starring the one and only Johnny Depp in a period piece. There's already a trailer up for that one if you want to have a look at it. It doesn't look too great other than just being a period piece. Sam Levinson is at the festival with a series, the director and writer of Euphoria, called The Idol. Usually at the festival, there's like one big movie. There was also like a Fast and Furious film a couple of years ago that premiered there. This year, they're not going that route, although around the same time, there would be Fast X that comes out. But they went with James Mangold and Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, which we are quite keen for as well, Lachlan, right?
100%. It's an Indiana Jones movie, man.
Yeah, seeing Harrison Ford in person, I'm looking forward to it. Lastly, there's also Kim Jae-won with Cobweb. That's the director of I Saw the Devil. Lachlan, have you seen I Saw the Devil?
I actually have not.
Me neither. So it's like I do have a bit of homework to do before we go to the festival. I want to watch some of the films from the filmmakers that I'm not too familiar with. So it's not like my first experience with one of their films. But that's the out of competition section. And then overall, I guess the biggest section at the festival is in competition, which is the section where all of the films are competing for the Palme d'Or, which was like a couple of years ago. Parasite, for example, won the Palme d'Or. So lots of great films that come out of that lineup. Like we already mentioned, Asteroid City, Wes Anderson is playing in that section. Then we also got The Zone of Interest, which comes from Jonathan Glazer, the director of Sexy Beasts and Under the Skin. Which have you caught? You've seen Under the Skin, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that one looks really promising. It's about a Nazi officer stationed at Auschwitz. He becomes enamored with a camp commandant's wife. So yeah, looks
What
like
a setting!
promising.
What a
What a setting.
romantic backdrop to
Yeah.
fall in love.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
A mass genocide. Romantic.
Yeah.
I love that. That's actually quite interesting.
Yeah, it does sound pretty interesting from the logline alone. Last year we got a film from Hirokazu Koreeda, the director of Shoplifters. He had Broker at the festival. I was lucky enough to be at the premiere there as well. I saw all of the cast in person. And his film Monster is playing in the competition section as well. Probably, if I'm being honest, like I guess we can get into that. Oh no, I'll ask you right now. Out of the lineup, is there like anything other than Wes Anderson that's like your most anticipated film of the festival?
Look, I'm a big Wes Anderson fan, so there's something special about seeing one of his films at Cannes. Like, there's a specialness to it as like a movie fanatic, a movie fan. Like anyone, I'm super excited to see pretty much any of the big films that are coming out. Unfortunately, I haven't had enough time to deep dive into each of the individual ones, but from the ones that you've told me, like The Zone of Interest, that sounds quite exciting. An Australian film called The New Boy, which has Cate Blanchett in it. I'm quite excited to see that, just to see something homegrown in France will be quite exciting. And then you have just like another number of other films like that. What was that film that you just suggested? Just told me about, Cobweb. That movie sounds super interesting. In the 1970s, director Kim is obsessed by the desire to reshoot the ending of his completed film, Cobweb, but chaos and turmoil grips the set with interference from censorship authorities and the complaints of actors and producers who can't understand the rewritten ending. It sounds like a really exciting film and about like making a film.
Yeah, and like last year's Broker, we also are getting Parasite's Song Kang-ho to return to the festival. I'm really looking forward to seeing him again as in a lead role. Probably like the most famous South Korean actor, and to see him at the lead of this is really promising. He doesn't really miss with any of his stuff. To me, I think for me it is Koreeda, just because I'm so in love with Shoplifters and whatever Monster entails. I'm looking forward to it. There's not even a log line for it at this moment.
Yeah, there's literally no log line. It's crazy.
There's nothing. It's even on IMDb. It says plot under wraps, which makes me want to know about the film even more. There's like another film that's quite promising about dry glasses from Nuri Bilge Ceylan. Probably butchered that name there, but there's a movie that's in the Letterboxd 250. Once Upon a Time in Anatolia is number 215 on Letterboxd. So I'll definitely catch up with some of their films because they have quite a few of like similar poster styles, so I feel like you get a vibe for this the type of filmmaking through seeing some of the other films. So I kind of want to be ready, so I'll catch up with them. And there's also Todd Haynes, which is a director who did Carol, Dark Waters, Safe. He takes his time with making films. He doesn't make them as often. I think Dark Waters was a bit of a miss for me personally, but it was all right. It wasn't bad at all. I think no, it wasn't even. No, I'm conflating that with I'm messing that up with something else. No, Dark Waters was actually pretty solid. But he has a film called May December. That's playing at the festival as well. That's 20 years after their notorious tabloid romance gripped the nation. A married couple buckles under the pressure when an actress arrives to do research for a film about their past. It's with Natalie Portman and Julianne Moore. Really promising cast as well. So that's another one that could be pretty big. And then lastly on my like highlighted list is Ken Loach with The Old Oak, the director of I, Daniel Blake and Sorry We Missed You. Has got a drama about I guess a pub. The Old Oak is a special place. Not only is it the last pub standing, but it's also the only remaining space where people can meet in a once thriving mining community that has seen 30 years of a hard decline. So yeah, that could be pretty good. Other than that, there's also a short from Pedro Almodovar with Pedro Pascal and Ethan Hawke called A Strange Way of Life. I don't really know where that movie is going to play, if it's just going to, it's because it is a 30-minute short, if it's playing like in front of a shorter film or it's going to be a special screening. We'll have to be on the lookout for that. Lastly, before I forget it, there's also special screenings. We are getting Steve McQueen in there, the director of Hunger, Shame, and 12 Years a Slave, is doing a documentary of a historical illustrated book that's about I guess an occupied city is the movie. The movie's called The Occupied City, and it's about Amsterdam from 1940 to 45. So anything Steve McQueen touches, I'm quite interested in, so we'll definitely catch up with that as well. There's also Wim Wenders, who's doing a documentary film called Anselm, which also has like a German added title, Das Rauschen der Zeit. He is the director behind Paris, Texas, and Wings of Desire. He's done some really, really big films, and he's here with a documentary. So, looking at the lineup, I think this is a pretty good one because I didn't have like that close a look at it last year when I went. I just kind of went and wasn't that prepared. Missed some stuff like After Sun. I had to wait for that a bit later to catch it myself. So we are going in as prepared as we can, watching as many films as we can. Overall, Lachlan, having had a brief look, we haven't gone into at all the smaller section of Instant Regard, which is usually films that are like first, second, or third time directors. Because they're a bit harder to, I guess, get into, even because you don't really have any images yet, you don't have a trailer, you have no reference point for a lot of the stuff. Maybe you have like a cryptic plot line at most. So we'll have to kind of discover those gems as we get there, and maybe report back if we found something good. But having had a quick brief look over all of those 48 films, what do you think of the lineup? Are you excited? Is this good, or were you hoping for some bigger films?
No, I'm psyched. This looks like a really great mix of everything. You know, I'm super excited to see almost every film that comes up on that list. All of them with log lines sound super exciting, with some plot details coming out, and there are some wicked actors and actresses in some of these films, and I'm excited to see them as well. And I'm just excited to see, you know, something that looks kind of ridiculous, like Strange Way of Life. It looks like a really weird 30 minutes. Yeah. I'm just excited to see anything, right? Yeah. It's the experience of Cannes, you know, seeing this special place and doing it. I don't know.
Celebrating film as a collective in a theater. I'm looking forward.
That's
to
what
that
I wanted to say.
Yeah, I got you. It's gonna be fun. I'm looking forward to it. Just to see each other again in person, and then get to talk about film. You know, as we watch them endlessly But yeah, stay tuned for our coverage there. We'll have some stuff going on during the festival, before the festival, after the festival. Lots of stuff coming to the channel, which yeah, is exciting. But let's have a look at what we've been watching this past week. So it's been a busy week for both of us. Like you mentioned at the top, you said that you've been catching up with the latest season of Ted Lasso.
That is correct. I have
Yes.
been watching Ted Lasso. I haven't been
Mhm.
watching a lot of TV recently because I've been a little bit disappointed with it. Mando season 3 was probably like the most recent example I can give of a series that has kind of let me down. I know the season finale is coming out this week, so I might
Oh,
just
is it? Yeah.
binge the season and move on with my life before good Star Wars hopefully comes out.
Yeah.
But I started watching Ted Lasso season 3, and it's okay.
Yeah. I feel the same way
There's
about it.
nothing-
That's why I haven't mentioned it yet on the show. I've been watching it
There's nothing
silently.
crazy.
It's
Yeah.
it's pretty basic Ted Lasso stuff. What the series does weirdly well is that, like, I feel like it's the most basic way to approach a type of story where I feel all of the beats
Yeah.
coming a mile away, and then whenever they hit, they still make me emotional. I don't know. There's something
Yeah.
magical about the show.
It's a
that it
very
still
good
kind of gets.
feel-good show.
Yeah.
It's a very good feel-good show. And that was
So,
probably the best part, is that when I was watching it, no matter what, I was constantly feeling good about what was happening. So
Yeah.
at the end of the day, it's nothing crazy. I still think season 1 was probably the best one out of all of the
Yeah.
seasons. Season 2 was kind of okay, and this season has probably been the worst by far in terms of an actual story going on. But
I agree, yeah.
But don't get me wrong, it's a very good feel-good show. I'd like to see how they end it and to see if they want to continue on with it, because I feel like it could probably wrap up. There's only so much you can really beat out of this story of an American training an English football team. But either way, moving on. Way coolest TV show I've started watching, Succession.
Mhm.
Not gonna lie, I have not much to talk about because I've only watched about 6-ish episodes.
Yeah.
Yeah? Let me have a look. 6 episodes? Episode 5. I've watched 5 episodes, I lie. Of season 1. And I am McLovin' it.
McLovin' it.
My gosh. Where have I been sleeping on this show? It is it's fire, man. It's so good. Anyone, drop what you're doing, watch Succession. I'm excited to make my way through it. Once this podcast recording has finished, I will literally upload my files and continue watching because I'm having a great time. I think it's actually really, really good. So right now, I think the reason I've decided to watch television over the next few weeks is that I'm about to go and watch a lot of movies at a festival, and I don't want to overload myself before going in. So I want to watch television and catch up with the stuff that I've been missing, especially since after starting watching Ted Lasso and Succession, all of a sudden Beef has come out, which I haven't watched yet, but I've had a number of people, both people who are nerds of cinema and people who are just everyday watchers, that I should drop what I'm doing and watch Beef. So
got a wide
hopefully I can
appeal,
also squeeze that in there as well. I'm excited to start that. But yeah, basically I'm on a TV binge. I'm the TV guy now on the Quiet on Set podcast, all right?
I don't want to take that away from you, although no, this week you're the TV guy, at least.
Yeah, you've got more movies on there.
I'm so European. I'm just used to colonizing everything.
Yeah.
But I mean, I obviously not getting into spoilers whatsoever. Although I told you stay off anything that is discussing Succession at the moment, because
I've tried.
like, have you been spoiled or not?
No.
Okay.
I've tried successfully.
Really, yes.
I guess.
Continue to do that and start to binge. Because there's some stuff that happens in the show that really goes well if you're not really expecting it. I don't even want to get into it too much so you don't remember when it comes up. but the latest episode is like currently sitting at a 9.9 on Letterboxd, on IMDb. People have been loving it. I think it's not like the best episode of the show, but that just goes to how great the show is, because I think it's one of the best episodes of TV ever. But it's still not the best of the series. It's an amazing show. I'm wondering, who's your favorite character at the moment? Because naturally, with watching Succession, it should shift. That's just my experience.
Who's my favorite character?
Yeah.
I kind of hate them all. They're all a bit shitty.
Yeah. You obviously you do hate them all, but you have like one favorite that you're kind of rooting for, and it's like, ooh, that's some toxic part of me that I shouldn't be like. That's the experience of Succession. That's the fun.
Because it's all a power play with all these characters that I quite like. I enjoy Connor a little bit, even though he's not in it a whole lot. He comes in because I've just finished the episode 5 where there's the like speech scene, and the entire time, you know, Connor's like organizing this event, and he's like picking out little tiny things, and he's like switching between one of the nicest bosses to one of the worst bosses to work for, and that's kind of exciting. But that's only because I've just watched that. I got to admit, throughout the entire series, like Logan has been extremely fun to watch, played by Brian Cox. Because he is like, old man, I don't want to deal with any of your shit. I know how to run my company.
Logan. Literally.
But like the relationship between Kendall and Roman is quite interesting. Roman's an interesting character amongst himself. I can't tell you if I've got a favorite character because I don't like any of them as people. They're all bad people. Other than maybe Greg. Greg so far just unfortunately seems to be the okay.
He's the innocent one. No.
He's the innocent one, yeah.
He's the innocent one, and he enters this world. He's like, I think the show does a great job of him trying to like stumble into this, but then trying to plant himself as firmly as he can by basically not having a spine. There's just like, but his dynamic with Tom, I think is the funniest one in the whole series, and they really know that. The writing in the show, like the lines, the quotes that come out of it, is probably the most exciting things. And those between Tom and Greg, and then also Roman, with just like how vulgar he gets, is my personal highlight of the show. But I switched from like liking Kendall to Roman to Shiv to Tom. They got like the individual moments to shine. So I can't wait for you to catch up with the series and see where you end up. Maybe we can even do a series 4 discussion, because the series is ending with season 4. So yeah.
Oh, is it?
Yes.
Oh man. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
They said an endpoint.
I'll try to catch up.
Yeah.
I like that. That makes me more excited because I like TV shows that know when to end, and if they are ending it and they know where they want to end, that's good.
Yeah, it's ending right as we are in Gun. Actually, we might watch the last 2 episodes together. It's like 2 of them, like episode 9 and 10, are airing while we are in Gun. Or actually, no, one of them we can watch at my place. When we get back here after the festival, we can watch the finale here. So I'm really looking forward to that. If you manage to catch up.
Do you have a surround sound system? And
I do. I do have a 5.1 surround sound system and a 4K 75-inch TV. Yes.
Excellent, perfect.
We
just want to
are
make
covered.
sure.
I don't have the
Thank
sound
God.
bar that is like as crazy as yours. But yeah, looking forward to that. Catch up with Succession if you haven't already. I caught up with a guilty pleasure of mine, which is Lily James. I cannot escape anything she does. I'm a bit of a simp when it comes to her. I just love whenever she's on screen, whenever she does anything. I don't know what it is. I just got an obsession. Luckily, you recently described it as like, because I asked you like about a movie, and I was like, hey, who do you think I found the most interesting? And he's like, no, he's just going with like the average looking brunette. And that's your type. It's like, okay, I guess I'm fairly predictable. But she's in a movie called What's Love Got to Do with It. Emma Thompson plays her mom, and it's a rom-com where she plays a documentary filmmaker. She probably is the shittiest documentary filmmaker that's like on screen. She does a really poor job at like that parts. Those parts are like really unbelievable, but it's not about that ultimately in the story. It's about like arranged marriages and stuff like that. And yeah, it's pretty fun. I had a good time with it. I also finished The Legend of Korra season 3 and 4. Caught those seasons, and I think the show gets better. I agree. I think it's a definitive step up from season 1 and 2. You said the show gets better as we go along, and that's just what it's like. The experience, what it's like towards the end of it. I was like, this is great, especially like the start of series 4. I found quite interesting of how you go about a character that it has the ultimate power to then not possessing it. I guess slight spoilers, sorry. Here, and the passing of time as well. A really clever way to switch it up in like that approach of just a lot of action that happens usually in Avatar and Korra. But yeah, overall, I think I'd still say it isn't like the most well written show. And Avatar is leagues ahead of it, but it's still decent enough to give it a recommendation. And just brief thoughts on a couple of films. First up, Nicolas Cage. I would love to recommend to you, Lachlan, and anyone else in the audience that Renfield is worth watching, but it's unfortunately not. I think Nicolas Cage is definitely the highlight of it. The way he plays this really over the top Count Dracula. Nicholas Hoult as Renfield is quite decent as well, but it focuses a lot of its time on just telling us about the codependence of these two characters, but not actually showing it to us. And then there's a subplot with Aquafina as a cop, and like it expands her side a bit too much, where I didn't really care. And ultimately, it also makes some strange choices with basically having all the blood be really over the top CG, like lots of like just explosions of people, and it's just a really odd stylistic choice that doesn't really work for me, and I've seen a lot of other people critique that point as well. And it's just played a bit too much for the humor, where it tries to lean into the ridiculousness of, I guess, Nicolas Cage. But I think movies work best when he's the most eccentric and over the top part about it, and they don't really managed to pull that off, unfortunately. Then I also watched Toni Collette as Mafia Mama. Her grandfather dies, and she has to go to Italy to make the most. The Super Mario Bros. Movie came out, but Mafia Mama is still the most stereotypical depiction of, slightly offensive as well, I guess, in some aspects as well, of Italian people. It's crazy, and it's just a bit of a mess. I described the movie as probably your mom's hairdresser's favorite movie. That's what Mafia Mama is. I don't have anything else to say to that. And then initially, we were actually going to do a main review on Air, the new film directed by Ben Affleck, starring Matt Damon, and a really exciting supporting cast. And then I caught the film, and I was like, I don't know if there's much to say about it, because it's basically just, I guess, how did Air Jordans get made? The Wikipedia article, and dramatize that a bit. Have some weird editing choices in the conversations. Like, they were oddly cut up that you like skip ahead in the room, and like you go to close-ups, to wide shots, to two shot, to like, it's like they were shooting for coverage and were like, we got to use it all, man. And that was a bit distracting. It only happened in parts of the film, not in all parts of the film, so it felt like not really stylistically coherent. But it's a pretty good feel good movie of like sports thing of like rooting for the character that ultimately you bet on someone to succeed, and then it pays off. And cool, capitalism, Nike. That's fun. I thought it was a bit basic. I didn't love it. Can only give a light recommendation on it. But that's all the stuff that I've been watching. How to Blow Up a Pipeline comes from director Daniel Goldhaber, who is most known for his film Cam, that was quite controversial when it came out. It was an interesting thriller. Now here, I think we do have a simpler story. It really is all in the title. It's about how to blow up a pipeline. Maybe not a manual instruction of how to do it, but a dramatic depiction of exactly that, and hopefully it going off. Hopefully, maybe. I don't know. We have to discuss that, I guess, a bit more if we want it to go off, or what the implications of it are there, but it follows a young crew of environmental activists that execute a daring mission to sabotage an oil pipeline. The movie comes from Neon, and also a big thanks to Neon for sending us screeners to the film, because the movie is currently only playing in limited release in the States, hopefully expanding wide soon, making enough of a ruckus to get an international release as well. I checked, it doesn't have one for Australia or most parts of Europe at the moment just yet. Hopefully it will get sooner than later, or I guess end up on streaming in a bit. That means for us that we don't want to take away from the movie too much before it actually has a release and people have a chance to watch it. So our review will stay spoiler free all the way through. The movie has been received really positively so far. It's been playing at a couple of festivals, and like I said, it has been playing in limited release in the States for a couple of days, and has a pretty similar average on Letterboxd. It's a 3.9, on IMDb a 7.4, and on Metacritic a 75. So overall, a positive rating, just from pretty much anyone who's seen it. Now, Lachlan, for you, what did you think of the movie just overall?
I love movies that have that massively independent vibe going for it.
Yes.
And also, I love movies that have a sick score. This movie had a sick score going to it.
The opening alone.
Right?
Dude, can you, do you know another movie? Because it was so familiar to like another film. And I don't know if it was like Uncut Gems or whatever, but it felt like something else that I'd seen. Just like the electronic score and like the montage opening. But I couldn't figure out what it was.
Uncut Gems is a good example because it's building a lot of tension right at the start.
Yeah.
Through fast-paced editing, through very like hardcore, almost sort of I guess techno. It's basically just like a dun 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 like bass line with a little bit of like synths and shit in it. Like it's a very tense, low score in the background. If you don't pay attention to it and you're just watching, man, it just builds a lot of tension. But Uncut Gems is a good example of another film very similar in building that sort of suspense in the first scene.
But is it Uncut Gems that also has like that type of, because I can distinctively remember a like specific film that is like felt to me like one-to-one to these like drowned out really long synthetic like electronic musical beats, and I'm not sure if like Uncut Gems I think doesn't open like that, but yeah, regardless, that's just my obsession and not being able to figure out I guess what exactly my reference point is there. But I really enjoyed, like you said as well, the independent feel to it. I gotta check. I think this film was also probably filmed on film, right? It was filmed like, I think that also adds to it. It wasn't like 32 millimeters. It was actually shot on like 16 millimeter Kodak, and I think that really adds to it. I don't know what exactly it is. I don't think it adds to like a timeliness, so like having it not be not feel like really modern, or that it ultimately, I think it isn't like that it ultimately feels timeless in any sort of sense, because it feels really current and of its time. And I don't know if it maybe is slightly set in the future, a couple of years, or if it's supposed to be like right now. But everything just really came together for me. I think the highlight was, like you said, I think the score really worked so well, pulling like everything together.
The cinematography with the whole being shot on film 16 millimeter, that's not just one aspect of creating this feeling. And I'm going to describe this feeling as a home video, as essentially this film's title is How to Blow Up a Pipeline. And this film is shot in a way that makes it feel like you're literally learning how to make a bomb and blow up a pipeline, because it has a home video feel to it by being on 16 millimeter. It's almost pretty much 16:9 aspect ratio. And there's not really like a massive sort of, there's never really any massive sort of establishing shots on a drone or anything like that that makes it feel like it's got a massive production. It all is very small scale, conversational base, and then when it's not, big moments that are actually on a smaller scale that impact their mission. So every single element makes it feel like it's a home movie, and that is what's building this tension as well, because it feels like it's based in a reality. And obviously, I don't think it's set in the future. I think it's actually set probably like early 2000s, most likely, with the type of tech that they had. I thought that kind of might be like, it was not early 2000s, early like 2010s sort of situation. But they did have some pretty modern smartphones at the same time. So I guess it was kind of caught in two different places with what they had, because one person had like a flip phone, one person had a smartphone, and they also had TikTok. Actually, you know what? No, then it must be set in the real life. I'm tripping. It must be set right now, because there is literally a scene with TikTok in it.
I think the flip phone is a bit of a spoiler why it is used. Like, you kind of just tell you why probably that character uses a flip phone at that very moment. But it would kind of give away some of the plot details there. So I don't want to do that. But I think what you brought up of like the home video feel, ultimately, this is a story that is really intimate and personal to each and every character of why they want to blow up this pipeline. And that contrasted by just the big tech, that I think it's a great choice that we stick with these characters. We don't get the other perspective of like who these people, like who it directly is affecting, because ultimately it is not affecting any person per se, because people profit off of all of this, that are like these really rich people that profit off of the environmental destruction of the planet, but they are never directly impacted. And I think it's not a spoiler to the film, but someone calls what they do, their whole mission is like an act of self-defense. And that goes even longer to say, like, that's not in the film, but it's like you can't hurt property, you can only hurt people. And I think that's like at the core of the film here, is like that, like, I don't know what it was, but it was really engaging. And I was the whole time thinking like, yeah, blow up the pipeline, go for it. But then you don't glamorize the act of this like still structural terrorism that they do. They are still like, they're just broken people. And what did you make of that? That again, a really, really minor story for how the story kind of plays out, but it's pretty much linear of how they execute this plan. But then it also flashes back to introduce us to each of the characters. What did you make of that? Was that too formulaic to you, or did that work for you?
No, because once again, as you said, it makes it personal.
Yeah.
There's a particular cut that I thought was quite bold, where it was building a lot of tension, and then it cuts to a, sort of flashback to adding a new person into this and giving them backstory. It cuts at a very vital moment. And that is very bold, because you're cutting away tension that was eventually building. But with the storyline that they follow through with there, with that flashback, it once again just adds this extra layer of reasoning to why they are making this disaster actually happen. Because at the end of the day, like, if they didn't do if they don't go through with this, nothing's gonna change. But they could also go through with this and still nothing changes. There is no sort of outside look of the effects of this, because the film doesn't really investigate that. It's literally a story of these guys and their plan to blow up a pipeline. There's not much else on that. And that's kind of interesting that they didn't decide to go out into that sort of storyline. They definitely make it more of a character piece and each of their personal attachments to this project.
I think they do touch on the outside world through one character a bit, through Alicia, who is kind of bringing up a few times that, like, ultimately when you destroy property, you it is just a blimp in the.
Mm.
It's mainly still to get a message out, or maybe to motivate more people, right? That's their ultimate goal. But in short term, you're hoping for long term changes, which this group of people are frustrated by. That like whatever they do, whatever they protest, whatever, it's just like one step into a possibility of a direction that change is gonna come. And whenever it ultimately is like at a converging point where stuff needs to happen, shit happens. Like nothing happens.
Yeah.
And that's like why they are so frustrated with it. And the short-term punishment would be still the profiting of the oil people who like maybe get disrupted for a bit, but that just means oil prices are going to spike because it's more scarce. So who is hurt
Mm.
by it? They, I guess, are losing oil, right? They're not making as much profit, but they just prompt up the prices. So who's hurt directly? It's people who just need it, the everyday people. And I think like acknowledging that and making it an integral part of the story as well is needed for it to not just feel really basic in its approach about like a couple of people blowing up a pipeline and hoping it will change the world, right? So it feels really emphatically intelligent with how it sees all the people in the various different ways that like these terrorist Avengers are assembled. And it doesn't feel like it's just like there to have one of each of like how they are affected by it, you know? And it's just executed in a really engaging way. I found myself really at the edge of my seat the whole time. And it's rare that a movie is able to stay there like throughout its whole runtime. Usually, maybe it has like a really exciting moment, but this whole film was like deeply, deeply just captivating. So I loved it. I had a great time with it. Yeah. Anything else you wanna mention and focus on?
Not really anything to focus on because we are trying to keep this as spoiler free as possible.
Yes.
I think that going into the film, I didn't know what to expect because there's not really much out on this film. There is this, as I said, really awesome tension built from both the score and the cinematography / editing that keeps it quite well paced. It often knows when to cut very, very well. And I have to admit the montages at the same time are often quite engaging when montages can sometimes be disengaging. They're meant to like build energy, but they're often overdone, where in this film they definitely use it to their advantage. I guess one of the few things I don't like about the film is sort of the ending. Without trying to get into the actual story itself, the ending I feel like is a bit all over the place with too many reveals of twists and turns. They could have kept it quite simple and not have any sort of twists about where each person's allegiance lies. Yeah. And unfortunately, it just seems like, oh, we've got the audience. Oh, we've got the audience again. One more time. And it's just a bit much because you're building to this massive, massive ending and you're getting quite excited, but then they kind of do this whole, here's the twist, here's another twist, and then it sort of just ends. That's probably the most unfortunate part because I felt like for at least the first hour, how long is this film? It's like 90 minutes. I feel like it's for the first 60 minutes.
No, it's a bit longer. It's a bit longer than
it's a bit longer?
Minutes. Yeah.
90? Look, then I'll probably say it's probably like 100 and... No, not 100.
It's 104.
I would probably say it's...
minute.
Yeah, it's 104.
Yeah.
Look,
Sorry, not an hour 15, an hour 35.
Hour 35.
No, not an hour 35.
Look, I'd probably
an hour 45. Jesus Christ.
You okay?
Yeah.
You having a stroke?
Time. We don't have any time anymore. The world is.
I definitely feel like it's an hour and a half of really good storytelling and really good character development and really good editing and score. But then the last 15 minutes still has a lot of those in there. Like a majority of that is still there. But the story that they were building sort of just mixes all over the place. Am I getting this wrong? Is this based off of novel?
I don't know. Actually,
Fact checking.
Fact check. It is, yeah, book by Andreas Malm.
Thought so. Inspired by, apparently. But not
Non-fiction
like...
book from 2021. So, no, 2020. Which I think this whole movie reads a bit like a manifesto. I think, like, not getting into spoilers, but also towards the end of it, it does feel that way. I think for me, without spoiling it, I think the first twist is not necessary because they make a way of setting it up later on, and just leave that whole part out. And you still got like the second ending, um, which involves a few more characters, or the second twist. I think is the one that really worked for me. And was like, oh shit. And that first one was like a bit too convoluted. Didn't really need that one. And I like the very end there as well with like what it's going for. So overall, I think a pretty solid execution. Maybe a few too many side steps, but you brought up the montage feeling a bit like montages seemingly, I think, disconnecting you from the characters as well, because they want to just kind of bridge a lot of information into a condensed media form.
Time.
And here
Yeah.
you are taking a glimpse, you see a glimpse of their lives, and maybe giving you the information that is like paid off a bit later when you revisit those characters in that space. And I think that works really well as like a tease, other than like, here's all the characters and here's all the information you need about every single one of them. It doesn't do that. It's going for more of like a stylistic and thematic like approach to it. This is going to be the vibe for the whole film, of like how it's just cut together well with like a great score, and then it explores the characters and takes its time with them later on. So I think the narrative structure is also really well done. To me, I think what is also interesting is like, how is this movie going to be perceived by people? I think it definitely like skews towards a younger audience, obviously, that is really identifying themselves with the frustrations of older generations who do not see such an imminent threat with, I guess, global and environmental disasters that we are inevitably heading towards. What did you make of that? Like, do you think this is gonna be a movie that is only going to resonate with a younger audience, or is it there maybe a bit of a broader appeal as well?
No, I don't think it's going to resonate with younger audiences. I feel like it's actually probably going to piss a bunch of people off, because there's going to be a bunch of people who are just going to read the title of this film and they're going to go, "This is a bad film. It's
Bad
going to be
influence. Is it gonna inspire terrorism?
Promoting terrorism." And if they watch it, they probably will see that they're not really glorifying the whole procedure part.
No.
Of actually blowing it up. Maybe they're promoting. No, I was going to make a joke about promoting sex near pipelines, but
yeah,
and being an FBI
Do that.
informant,
getting that different type of pipe exploded. If you're catching my drift.
Catching my drift.
Yeah.
But no, I feel like this film, as you said, doesn't really have a massive release for it. So I feel like it's going to be one of the missed opportunities of the year.
Yeah.
And that's unfortunate, because it's actually really, really good compared to a lot of the really, really shit stuff that comes out all year long that's made for $100 million more. And this film nailed some really wicked characters. And in terms of performances of the actors and actresses in the film, I don't think any of them were like stand out terrible or stand out great. I feel like it was a great ensemble cast that worked really well with each other. Each of them had their quirks and interesting characteristics that made them unique enough to be able to stand out. Like, I know that, like, I've only just watched the film like literally an hour ago, so the names aren't gonna come to me that well, other than maybe like Sean. But I know that there's a father who is concerned about his land that he owns and preserving that. You have Dwayne, someone who their mother passed away, and then you've got Theo, who is terminal with leukemia because of the toxic air. So, like, what each character's characteristics are, but they're not like, it doesn't seem forced upon you to be like, yes, look how sad they are making these people from the terrible global atrocities that we are committing as a human race sort of situation.
In some of the flashbacks, I assumed it would focus more on the actual moment when stuff happens, but it is actually more like visiting us as they're already on the path of being ready to blow shit up, to do something, and it is then kind of told to us a bit like through I guess context clues. And I think that's a way better approach than like showing us like her working at a factory that like gives her like that she's like taking in chemicals that make her get like cancer or leukemia. I think that's way better the way that they do it. And I think for a lot of the performances, a lot of the cast are actors and actresses who are mainly have been in I guess some series. I think the biggest actor out of the bunch is probably Lucas Gage, who was in White Lotus, and he was also in I think Mayor of Easttown, or maybe I'm mixing that up with someone else. But he's been in a few things, and I think a lot of these people are gonna pop up in some bigger films later on. I think they all were really solid. They played their part in an ensemble piece really well, and I think that's usually a bit understated. If someone plays really well in an ensemble, is like way different than a role if you were the lead. And I think they pretty much all have the potential to carry a bit more on their shoulders as well. Maybe other than like one character that I wasn't really vibing with that much with his performance. I think Michael, who's the Native American. I think his character was the most basic, was the most like driven by pure rage and despair. It didn't really fully work for me at all times. But
dude, that character is literally like the Batman of the ecological
he has some
crisis
great
that we're
lines.
Forging right now. He's like, I am vengeance.
Yeah, he's like, they ask like, what if we die? And he's like, I don't care. But then I think his thing wasn't explored enough. Like, it was just kind of assumed that because
he's like literally just the most he's probably the most underbaked character of all of them, but he's like the super like edgy bomb lord.
This is gonna get cut out. Did you mean like that cut that you mean was really well? Was that with like I have a new favorite movie of 2023, I think. If it's my most comfort movie, I'd go with Rylane. If I go with the movie I had the most fun with, that I thought was the best movie of the year so far, I gotta go with How to Blow Up a Pipeline.
Super Mario Bros. Oh, yes, that too.
Followed up by Mafia Mamma, Mafia Mamma, I think. Because I do love me some Italians. No, I ended up with a 4.5 out of 5 for the film. I really enjoyed it.
That's a high score.
Yeah. What about you, Lachlan? Are you up for some domestic structural terrorism? A 4. Okay. 4 for everyone. 4 for everyone. Do a bit of go.
It lost a star because it didn't actually inform me of how I can actually blow up a pipeline. But
false advertising.
4 stars.
Mm-hmm. That's still a really, really great rating for the both of us. So if it's playing anywhere near you, if by the time you watch this review, check if it's out somewhere for you, maybe digitally on VOD. Go give it a try. We can really recommend it. Now, Lachlan, if you were to pair up something with blowing up a pipeline, what would you pair up with the movie?
Blow up your pipeline.
You can pipe me down anytime.
I don't think of something that's like also very
hashtag activism.
Oh
no.
Alrighty, so my double feature is a little bit longer than the whole runtime of this one. Actually, I think it's double the runtime of this film, most likely.
Okay.
Maybe. I don't know. Either way. So the way I'm diverging my double feature from this film is How to Blow Up a Pipeline is obviously about oil that we have refined from the ground and we are going to be using. What is oil, Ewan? It's dinosaurs.
Yeah, okay.
Dinosaurs.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You can see where I'm going with this one, right? We need to stop refining dinosaurs. That is what How to Blow Up a Pipeline is about. It's about conserving the earth. It is a tension piece of building tension. And we get oil from dinosaurs. But how do the dinosaurs die? They got stuck.
Yeah.
Stuck in
right?
what? They got stuck in Tar. So my double feature is Tar with Kate Blanchett by Todd Fields.
Having probably an equally engaging social media discussion after it comes out. I agree. It's a great pick. I'm going a bit of a different direction. I just noticed that there's actually another connection to next week's movie with Joaquin Phoenix because this movie is narrated by him. I'm going with a documentary that's mainly about the impacts of anything related to animal products. It's called Earthlings, and like I said, is narrated by the one and only Joaquin Phoenix, who has been, I think, vegetarian or vegan for like almost 20 years now. It's really a documentary that influenced me a lot. It wasn't my reason to become plant based and only eat all of those, to only eat grass from now on. But it's a really solid documentary that is quite effective in its approach in telling you just straightforward, a narrative that is easy to get behind. I think it's a must watch for anyone. It's just really educational, even if it doesn't make you like swear off meat or whatever. It's just really an informative piece that I think everyone should have watched at least once in their life. So I'm going to give a shout out to Earthlings. Go give it a watch if you are mentally prepared for it. And I think after you watched How to Blow Up the Pipeline, it's the perfect, I guess, mental space to go do that. Now, there's also a couple of films that are releasing on April 22nd this week. We got Chevalier finally coming out, a bit of a smaller film that I think we probably won't get anywhere close to us. So we'll have to wait to catch up with that one. There's the 5th, 6th, 7th, I don't know, outing in the Evil Dead franchise with Evil Dead Rise that played earlier this year at South by Southwest. I don't know about you, Lachlan. Have you seen any of the Evil Dead films? Because I haven't seen a single one of them yet.
I've seen the first one, and
Right.
I kind of want to go back and watch the first one again and
Yeah.
watch the other ones, but I've heard a lot of good things about this new one. I think
Apparently
I've heard
it's
a lot of
very
good things.
gory, very brutal. But I think that's just the series overall. I'm trying to watch the films and the series before this one comes out. But for me, it also doesn't have a release date yet, so I'll have to wait and see. Maybe hope for a screener somewhere, so we can mention it. But it's not the movie we're gonna talk about next week. Operation Fortune Rouge de Guerre was just kind of dropped somewhere, so there is space for this new one, which is about the, I think, Iraq War, or yeah, something like that. I don't know. Again, like I always say, Guy Ritchie seems to be stuck in the mid 2000s. That's with not Andrew Garfield. Why am I messing him up? It's with the Swedish guy. He's in Donnie Darko. Who is he? Lachlan, you can definitely help me out here.
The who?
The Covenant.
Donnie Darko is main. So you're talking about
I have a
oh
mental
fuck! Now you
blank.
got my. Yeah, he's in Spider-Man.
He's in Spider-Man.
Jake Gyllenhaal.
Jake Gyllenhaal. Yes, thank you so much.
Don't make me. Don't you need to not like put me on the spot. You just gotta ask me who the main character is in a movie and
Yeah.
not ask me randomly like that
Noted.
ever again.
Noted. Not gonna take that into consideration, but I've noted it down for HR purposes. I am going to respect your wishes. Anyways, lastly, the anxiety-filled 3-hour-long third directorial gig from Ari Aster is coming to theaters this week. Already is playing in limited release. We'll dive into our full-on spoiler thoughts next week for Beau is Afraid. I've seen the film already. I think at the top of the show, I actually did mention that I'm going to talk about it and what we've been watching, and I didn't do that. The film is going to be the
Good.
most
I don't want
controversial one so
spoilers.
far. I'm not going to say anything else, but it's going to be the most like talked about film, I think, of his filmography, where people are going to like it, or love it, or hate it. So that brings us to the end of today's show. Lachlan, you are going to head off to watch the latest episode of Succession, and I got to catch up with whatever reality TV show is streaming on Max in the future. So we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.